existence, but it's all happening again, isn't it? This kind of situation happened a lot of times when I was in Eugene before, and a little bit towards the beginning of my Phoenix experience. But then it became much, much rarer and much, much more diluted. And by a lot of times, I mean a couple times a year, where something about me in usually the dancing, but maybe costume, whatever, draws someone who's very interested. And then I just, without really wanting to, somehow shut everything down. In this case, no words were even spoken. We danced, we played in the dancing for a couple of hours. Pretty enough girl, taller than probably I should be around, but that's okay. Just a matter of comfort, etc., in terms of heights, but I always keep a physical distance in the dancing, because if I actually am physically touching someone while I'm dancing, it probably will hurt them a great deal because it's like my fist or foot is going to hit them. Okay, fine. I mean, other than in a mosh pit. In a mosh pit, things are, I'm a little bit more restrained because I understand I'm slamming up against people and stuff like that. But I usually try to give myself a clearer space. But man, circling around each other, and the looks she was giving were just so perfect. This mixture of interest and shyness and everything, just, and obviously enjoying. And most people don't dare come up to me for long to dance, and most realize they can't keep up. And she was able to mostly, I mean, her patterns were not very complex, but she was putting enough energy in, and there was enough motion in her to be able to at least, be doing things. And it was in a pleasant enough way that it wasn't an aesthetic disaster, so I was willing to keep her there. But anyway, after any time where I felt there was a good connection, I guess a normal person would go introduce themselves or maybe say something. No, for me, it's a simple bow, and that's it. No words. And then off to my beer and sit down for the 3 seconds until the next song. And then I was outside smoking. She comes over, and I was talking to a couple of people. She comes over and plops down on the floor next to me. I'm on a chair, and something attractive to that too, of course, but because everybody else is kind of standing, she just but then a song comes on, and I get up and I skitter away with just oh, I gotta go get this one, I don't know what the fuck it is with me. I don't know if it's some kind of fear. It's the behavior I would do with anyone, right? If I'm sitting there talking with, I was talking with other people. If she hadn't been out there, I would have skittered away too. So in a sense, there's a certain honor to not diverting behavior because of interest. I don't know why I have that feeling that has to be the case, but it absolutely has to for me. With common courtesies, it makes perfect sense. In this case it doesn't, but with common courtesies it makes perfect sense to me, because it's like, okay, would I open the door no matter who was there? Or is it only because I think that's a pretty girl? Would I offer my seat to anyone else. No, I'm only thinking about it because, gee, she's kind of attractive, you know, as opposed to like an older person or someone who was obviously having difficulty, maybe too many bags, or you know, had an injury or something. In those cases, no, that's perfect, and you know, there's nothing wrong with making the exception there. But the exception, because I might be interested even in the very simplest and slightest terms, that is so impossible for me to make. And in this case, it was most ridiculous because, you know, what I'm choosing here is, do I owe the song the dance? No. Do I owe the crowd the dance? Not particularly. Most of them don't care. Would probably rather not have me taking up extra space. To what do I owe it? And only maybe to myself, which means that what I'm doing is I'm making a choice that my only duties, I think, other than the courtesy of sticking around for people, but we've already eliminated that I would do that with anyone, you know, that I wasn't intrigued by. The only duties that really I can apply here are those to myself, and missing the song would make me much less unhappy, I would think, than missing that interaction that might have led to, you know, a friendship at least, right? And I'm finding this very difficult to talk to anyone else to. So I'll talk to everyone about it, right? With my wife, hey, you know, I have to some extent, but it's hard. It's hard to phrase things and not possibly cause some hurt. I'm not quite, we've never really defined our boundaries properly. And I think we need to. Now that I'm back here, there's a little bit more power in me, and it just feels like I'm drawing, because it wasn't just her, and it wasn't just, it's just this was more intense, intense enough to seem like it might have meant something. And there really hasn't been anything vaguely along those lines, because of course I would never, you know, make any approaches on my own. It's always up to someone else to come to me. But the thing was, it's just troubled me so much. And you know, it was just the skittering off after dances, the skittering off from the conversation. And what's worst about it all is I completely, you know, in her own way, she's reaching out, obviously, with some interest, and here I just kind of say, you know, this slap to the face just by my normal behavior. And that's not what I intended at all. And I mean, I tried to express that, but I couldn't do it, you know, the most natural and reasonable way, which was just to seek her out, or after one of the dances, and say, look, you know, I'm sorry about that, and let the words flow or whatever, and they would, and I think that could have been patched in that way, but I did maintain the same playfulness throughout the dance. However, you know, I think she decided, yeah, there's something quite rightly wrong with this one, you know, or maybe he's just not interested in women or whatever, or terribly scared of people. And that's the thing. So, I mean, there's nothing much I can do at this point. The only thing that I can think of, and why I need to think about this and work on it and hash at it, is try to figure out what my fears are. And that's hard to tell. I had gotten to a point when I was here before, and younger and prettier and all that, that I could, at least at times, accept people sitting down and talking to me. I would probably skitter off to a song, though. I mean, even then, I can't see that not happening. But once I get to the conversation point, of course, my other defenses will kick in. My sense of humor that'll maybe seem so out of place and so acerbic at times towards whoever I'm talking to. My my tendency to have difficulty answering, continuing a conversation, pointing it in any direction. I just sort of receive and give answers because I'm so damn nervous around people. It's not even that, it's almost, I don't even know what it all is. And that's the thing, it's like, hey, if we had chatted, I probably would have pushed her away in the same sort of way, right? So kind of trying to get to where the root of those fears are. And one of my thoughts had been, maybe it's that not clearly defining what the boundaries are towards trying to, achieve a triad or whatever. How far, I can go. Obviously, conversation is fine, but conversation isn't always the most convincing way. At a certain point, you need, some sort of strengthening of the connection, and there are, physically chemical ways that's done, right, between two people, to make it to the point where, would you actually be interested in this possibly? Would you like to meet my wife, right? And that whole reality is just so difficult, and there's no easy slot to put things in because, it's not like I'm any of the pop fad type of open relationship or anything like that. No, I've got something, very specific and very, very selfish from anyone's point of view, including my own in mind. But I don't know. When I try, I don't think it's that, because even if I got better at things with practice sort of on my own, and how much practice do I actually get? Because I do have to draw them to me. It's never me going to them. So again, it is a fairly rare thing, and it can't just be, oh, I love your dancing, or I love your outfit, or you're always so. It can't be that. It has to push for more than that, and it has to go to the playful, and it has to, and in this case, it was all done through the dance, and that was just so beautiful, so perfect comparatively. But approaching me directly with conversation like that, then my conversational boundaries come in very much. I mean, thank you. Like another girl came up, hey, I was wondering if you had studied ballet. I'm like, no. And she said, no, you look, some of your moves, it looks like you are a trained ballerina. And I'm like, no, and here I said the wrong thing. I've just watched sometimes. That's not even really true. And that I'm crazy, which of course is true. The reality is actually my body has found the movements, and then I've trained them enough, not with knowledge of ballet or tap, or even river dance and jigs and all kind of other stuff. Not so much because I've watched other people dancing, I may have seen glimpses and they may have given me some clues somewhere or another, but I don't pay attention to other people for the most part. Normally, it's just, the physical, this is how you have to land if you do a leap, this is how you have to do this in order to prepare for it. This feels right. How would it feel if I did this other different thing? So almost everything I do is just, the first time I got up and danced, it was just feeling the music and powering it out. And since then, it's been adding little bits because I think, oh, this would be kind of interesting. Kind of like if you're playing the piano and you're just kind of like, wonder how that sounds, or playing any musical instrument, trying to experimenting around with things and seeing what they do, and some don't work and you don't pursue those any further. I don't do that in interactions with people. I don't see the art in that, for whatever reason. But, so I don't think it's the issue, although that issue of not knowing the boundaries, that issue has definitely inhibited me in situations with my ex-wife, where I just wouldn't pursue things because I wasn't sure, but I'm not sure I'd know the right words. It's like, I don't know. I've turned away things so often. It's really hard to tell what is the fear. Part of it's, I can tell you some of it here in this. I can try to say, okay, well, to some extent it's if all you're judging me on is the dance and the looks that I give, then how can you even know that's enough to be worth talking with someone? Well, it is, damn it. I'm doing the same, right? It is enough to open up some channel and see, is there more? It's more than enough for almost anyone. And the fact that, but it feels almost like, I don't know if it's fear. I actually think that it's habits, patterns, and such not. Like the pattern of scamper away when there's a song. The pattern, I don't know. I just don't know. Part of it is certainly not wanting to be seen as something lesser. So for example, and even though I am, there's a certain something about that's very, very appealing about just kind of being an epitome of the dance itself and not willing to sully that with letting it be an interaction method, something to allow something else. The purity and the pain is almost the perfection. And it's like, while I was in Minneapolis, I saw a perfect spot, and nobody else maybe would think so or whatever. Ruined mills, overgrown with woods, kind of hard to get to, and so most of the people, there weren't a lot of people down there, and the people that were kind of trying to hide. So you had kids getting high or goofing around or whatever, but it wasn't completely empty. And I don't know if it would be quite as perfect if it was, but it was so perfect in its own way, and that's kind of what I aspire to, is to have that sort of perfection that maybe only a few people even notice. But when they get it, it's almost like, I wouldn't want to taint this. I wouldn't want to interact with it in a way other than to experience its perfection. That's how I feel with that location. So I don't know quite what it would mean to interact with it in a way that wouldn't, like, I mean, clearly, although it would be a horrible place, like building a little shack down there to live or something would not interact with it properly. That would destroy it. So it's like the image, and the fact that image is better than whatever reality I am, is just so valuable somehow to me, even if I never know that it exists in someone else's mind. As long as it exists in my mind that it might exist in theirs, that means something tremendous. But there's other things. I mean, the fact that I'm not willing to go up and introduce myself to someone to begin with. Maybe this is just an extension of whatever that is. And it's just baked into me that I'm so terrified of human contact, or so unable to accept it or something. But it's strange because I crave it so much in so many ways. I just, you really kind of have to beat the shit out of me and force your way into my existence, I guess. I don't know. Oh well, this did not go where I had hoped in terms of trying to mash this out, but maybe it went somewhere. I don't know. And we'll send it up because that's part of the perfection of doing these on camera. Is ripping myself open. All right.